And good Tuesday afternoon, everybody. Welcome to another beautiful day in the Central Highlands of Arizona. Whether you're out in Prescott Valley, Chino Valley, Dewey, Humboldt, or elsewhere in Yavapai County, thank you for joining us. It happens to be the second Tuesday of the month, which means it's VA Day. So my name is Max Efron. I'm the Public Affairs Officer at the Northern Arizona VA Healthcare System here in Prescott, which serves about 34,000 veterans over a service area of about 65,000 square miles. So we cover all the way south to Anthem, all the way north to Page, west to Kingman and Lake Havasu, and to the east we have the Navajo Nation, Hopi Nation. So a lot of ground to cover. But today we have a few guest speakers, and we have a great show. We're going to be talking a little bit about upcoming events. We're also going to go over some services that we offer at the VA and how you can take advantage of those. So let's get into it. Our first guest is Michelle Stacy Schroeder. So she is the Recreation Services Administrative Supervisor for the City of Prescott, and she's also the driving force behind this year's Veterans Day Parade in Prescott. So Michelle, how you doing?
I'm doing great, Max. Thanks for having me on today.
Of course. Very happy to have you. So before we get into the details, the event details of the parade, let's start with a little history. So once upon a time, the Veterans Day Parade was hosted by the Northern Arizona VA.
That is correct.
And so we did it at the Bob Stump VA Medical Center here in Prescott. And, first of all, how long are we talking about? How far back?
So in 2013, the Veterans Day Parade moved from Bob Stump VA Medical Center to downtown Prescott. So that was 2013 was the first year that the city held it downtown. I did not become involved with it until 2016. And next year will be 10 years doing the parade, and it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of work, but thanks to the VA for sending people to help us. Great committee of community volunteers that just take it so seriously. They actually helped out with it prior to me coming on. And so I introduced myself, and they were all on board, and they stayed with me. So it's been great working with those community volunteers. And, of course, we've brought in APS to be a big sponsor of it, our title sponsor. So it's been a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun when it was held at the VA. It was a little bit smaller, but I think what moved it or pushed the need to move it was it kind of outgrew the VA. The VA up here is a great facility. I love it. But in regards to parking, in regards to staging, there's not a lot of room, and they just kind of outgrew it. So a lot of the components that happened when it was at the VA, we've also integrated here in downtown Prescott. For instance, the 24-hour guard, which we will talk about a little bit later.
Oh, yeah. And so when you took it over in 2016, you said, kind of what was your vision, bigger and better? Like, what were you trying to accomplish when you kind of started getting into it?
I had never planned a parade before. And for me, the Veterans Day Parade is very meaningful. As you know, I am a veteran. So I was able to bring a kind of esprit de corps to the parade. I've added elements to it that keep in trends with other, military type parades. I don't know. It was such an honor for me to be able to be a part of it. And I've never made it about myself. My committee always wants me to throw myself into it, but it's really a way for me to bring honor and tribute to fellow veterans in the community, fellow veterans that I served with, and it makes my heart feel happy to be able to do it. So.
And you were Army, right?
Yes, I was Army.
And it was OEF?
OIF.
OIF.
Yep.
Okay, got it. And so, yeah, basically that kind of gives everybody a sense of the foundation of where it came from, where it is now.
Yes.
And we've been building on that every year. And I know we were just discussing a couple years ago, we had over 100 plus, participants. We've had some of the biggest parades in the state.
Yeah, for a couple years we had more entries in our parade than Phoenix did. So it was like the biggest parade, Veterans Day parade in the state.
Yeah, I remember that one. That was fun to show off. So let's get into the details. Fast forward to 2025. Here we are. The clock is ticking. We are just 28 days away from the parade.
28 days. It's coming quick.
So give us the basics of the what, where, and when.
Okay, so before we get into the Veterans Day Parade, I want to talk a little bit about the Air Force and Army ROTC cadets from Embry-Riddle.
Sure.
So prior to COVID, actually, the cadets would do a 24-hour guard at the flagpole at the Northern Arizona VA health system. They would stay in the theater area and sleep through the night. And then they would every half hour, do a changing of the guard. COVID prevented them from doing that. So for a couple of years, it didn't happen. And I think it was probably 2022 when the city reached out to Embry-Riddle and said, hey, why don't we incorporate that downtown? So since 2022, the cadets do a 24-hour guard at the All Service Members Memorial, which is on the west side of the Courthouse Plaza. They are in full dress uniform. They have their rubber M16s. It's very sharp, very awesome to watch. It's very similar to the Tomb of the Unknown at Arlington, just how they compose themselves. And they stand there for a 24-hour period. So that will actually start at 10:30 on Monday, November 10th.
Okay.
And again, it's the All Service Members Memorial, which is on the west side of the Courthouse Plaza on Whiskey Row side, kind of the memorial centered between the two bathrooms.
Right.
What we added about 3 years ago was we added a wreath laying ceremony to that. And so we will have the mayor of Prescott, Mayor Phil Good. He will come and give some remarks. And we will have Colonel Davis from the Air Force ROTC at Embry-Riddle say a few remarks. And then they will then place a wreath at the memorial. It gives me goosebumps. It's so awesome to watch. And so that's going to go on for a 24-hour period. The parade actually starts on Tuesday, November 11th. We have an opening ceremony on the opposite side of the courthouse. So at the intersection of Union and Cortez, we'll have an opening ceremony that will consist of national anthem, leading the crowd in the Pledge of Allegiance. We will have some guest speakers. Again, Mayor Good will give some opening remarks. We have Mr. Sample from the VA that will speak, and our keynote speaker is going to be Dr. Witcher from Embry-Riddle. He's the chancellor over there. And then at the end of that, and at the conclusion of the 24-hour guard, the cadets will bring the wreath that has been there for 24 hours, and they will then place it in front of the stage during the opening ceremony, and then that will complete their 24-hour period. And then the parade will start promptly at 11 o'clock.
Well, that is terrific. And I mean, it's one of those components that, as you said, we've continued over the years and we kind of brought back in 2022. And it really is, I mean, I've witnessed it, the last couple of years, and every single time, same deal, chills. It's just, it's amazing. And their discipline, how focused they are.
They are so sharp. It's just unbelievable. I commend them all of the cadets to be out there in the cold. And, we feed them throughout the night, and, it wouldn't be possible without the help of Solid Rock Church. They actually house the cadets for us through the night, and we provide them snacks and food and stuff like that. So thank you so much to Solid Rock for being a great community partner in this. And I highly recommend that you come out 10:30 Monday, November 10th, to watch the first shift of the guard and the laying of the wreath.
Awesome. All right, so we just talked about that. We're going to probably get into the meat of it a little further. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back.
Perfect.
And we're back. This is Max Efron from the Northern Arizona VA healthcare system. This is VA Day. It's the second Tuesday of the month. And my first guest is Michelle Stacy Schroeder. She is the primary champion. She's dynamite. She really heads up the parade for the Veterans Day parade every year. We do planning meetings several months ahead of time. She is always there on time, making sure everybody's on task. And I sit there and I just take orders and I deal, but I'm there. We're all there to support.
I'm not a dictator.
No.
It's a group effort.
It is. But without Michelle, we would be lost at sea. So, we were just talking about the wreath laying ceremony and how the cadets from Embry-Riddle do an amazing job doing that. Now we're going to get into the actual parade. And we were talking a little bit about the opening ceremony. We have several speakers. But then from that point forward,
right,
what can we expect?
So the parade will start at 11 a.m. It starts at the corner of Willis and Cortez. It heads south on Cortez to Goodwin, and then Goodwin over to Montezuma, back up towards Sheldon. So prime seating for anybody wanting to come out is around the courthouse. We'll have the stage, which is at the intersection of Cortez and Union, and we'll be doing announcing. We're also going to have a secondary announcer's booth on the opposite side, outside of Matt's Saloon. So anybody sitting over there will be able to hear, the entries that are coming through. We partner with the Girl Scouts and Boy Scouts from Yavapai County. They go around prior to the parade and they hand out flags. I will be handing out some little veteran wristbands on the parade route throughout the whole thing, but I usually try to get some of those during or prior to the parade. But the parade starts at 11, and then at 11:11 we will stop. We will pause, and we will have the Armistice Day / Veterans Day proclamation read aloud. It basically details, why we have Veterans Day and what the meaning was. It signified the ending of World War I on the 11th day of the 11th month and the 11th hour. And so it's really meaningful to add that to our parade. And then once that's read, the parade will continue on. We have a special seating area across from the main stage for veterans. I know the VA brings members of or patients from the VA, from the CLC, to bring them out to be able to watch the parade. That was a huge thing when it moved from the VA to downtown, that they couldn't sit in their hospital rooms and watch the parade. So we do have a special seating area for them, as well as any veteran who wants to come and sit and watch the parade. We have chairs. We have an easy up that is covering them. We also bring some blankets because you never know what the weather's going to be like.
Right.
So
rain or shine, right?
Rain or shine.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, yes,
Can't
it gets
move Veterans Day.
a little cold. But we're looking forward to all of the entries that we have so far. Right now, we're sitting at about 60 to 65 entries.
Okay.
We do have a band this year in the parade. Last year, we weren't able to get any of them because they had a big competition. And it's free to enter. We welcome anybody and everybody who wants to participate and honor our veterans. I think it's important to note that every year we change the theme. We've focused on women veterans. We focused on Vietnam veterans, Korean War veterans, Afghanistan, Iraq, and Desert Storm veterans. We've even focused on the military family and how important their role is to not only active duty service members, but to the veterans themselves. And I think last year we focused on veterans who served in the military and then continued through on the civilian side as first responders, law enforcement, fire, all that good stuff. This year, we are focusing on celebrating America's Patriots, 250 years of military service.
Yeah.
It all started back in Lexington and Concord.
Yeah, it's a big one.
So I thought it was fitting to, acknowledge that, for 250 years, brave men and women have stepped up to, protect our constitutional rights, our freedoms, in the United States and abroad. And so I thought it was very fitting to focus on that for this year. And so spread out throughout the parade, we will have the branch flags.
Okay.
And acknowledging, when the branch was established, and give a little bit of back history, like, what's their motto. Haven't figured all that out. We're still working on that, but so that'll be a nice component to add to it. So, so Tuesday, November 11th at 11 o'clock, come early for the opening ceremony at 10:30. Routes will be closed at about 8 o'clock. So get there early, find parking. We do ask that people coming to the parade be very cognizant of businesses that are in the area that are still open on that day. We don't want to take up all of their parking, and we don't want to block anybody's private driveway. So just be kind and courteous and be patient. And our deadline to register is Monday, October 20th.
Yeah, so 6 days away.
6 days.
So if people want to get involved here, how do they go about doing that?
So they can go to the City of Prescott website, which is www.prescott-az.gov. Okay. Under the department tabs, if they click on Recreation Services, followed by Special Events, and scroll down towards the bottom of the page, the application is there. Like I said, it's free to enter. There's no registration fee. We do have 7 categories. We have nonprofit, fraternal or military organization, music, hospital entries by veterans. We have marching units. We have motorized groups, commercial businesses, and then we do have an award for best overall.
Okay.
So there's some organizations that every year they hit the theme perfectly. And so it's just a matter of who the judges think represented the theme and had the best entry overall. So,
well, I mean, the theme is so broad this year, right? So, I mean, it's really up for interpretation. What do you think we're gonna kind of stuff we're gonna see out there?
Well, I'm not at liberty to talk about certain ones.
I don't want to ruin any surprises yet. I know. But like, what would be an example of someone coming out for this particular theme? What would be like a...
I think, because, it's close to Halloween.
Sure.
And you can get costumes anywhere. But I would like to see different military periods.
Okay.
Advertised, or not advertised, but portrayed.
Right.
Have somebody dress up in like colonial revolutionary type uniform, and then maybe have somebody like in a World War II type era, and just kind of do that, or even representing each branch. Having a float with somebody from every single branch.
Yeah,
I think that would be cool. We never know what you're gonna see.
It could be anything. Yeah, it could be a full reenactment. It's like we'll see. Because typically, right, like they'll walk down the route and then they'll stop in front of the stage, and sometimes they'll do like a performance of some sort.
Correct.
Right. Like I think what was it? Maybe Air Force, Embry-Riddle, and Army. They always have a little competition.
It's always a competition with the ROTC cadets from Embry-Riddle, and we never I think last year. I think Air Force went first and Army went second. So then this year when we do the staging or the order, then Army will go first and then the Air Force will go second. So it's always a competition between them to see who can be loudest and more impressive. But between the two of them, it's always such a thrill to watch. Matter of fact, the 2 ladies that start the parade and usher all the entries to go, they pause and wait for the entries to get further up the road so that the big group can turn all at once. They do cadence. They'll stop and they'll do push-ups, or they'll do like recite one of their mottos or whatever. So it's always really really big, but um, you never know what you're gonna see.
I mean, I think I've been to all the parades here in town, and I think this is probably one of the more interesting because it is different every year, and there is different themes, and I mean, based on our planning committee meetings, I just know everybody's coming up with different ideas and
Right.
being really trying to be creative and engaging, and there's a lot of thought put into it.
Yes.
And so I'm always kind of curious, you know, what's going to come of it,
Right.
and but it's always a success. And I think, are we planning to do a flyover this year? I don't know. Is that in the works or not? I
We've
don't
talked
know.
about it a couple times, but I don't know if it's going to come to fruition.
Okay.
We'll see. You'll have to wait.
That's always a bit of a discussion to see if we can manage something like that.
Right.
And so obviously, let's just kind of recap the time, the day, all that. Real
Okay,
quick. Yeah.
so Monday, November 10th, 10:30 on the west side of the courthouse plaza is the ROTC Cadets 24-hour guard, starting that at the All Service Members Memorial. At 10:30 on Tuesday the 11th, we'll have our opening ceremony. Parade starts at 11. We pause at 11:11, and then we continue on.
Right on. And as Michelle mentioned earlier, there's still 6 days if you want to participate. Get signed up. Reach out to the city. Look it up on the website.
You can always call me at 928-777-1121, extension 4501, and I'd be happy to help you and send you an application.
Okay, say that number one more time.
928-777-1121, extension 4501.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much, Michelle,
Thanks
for
for having
everything.
me.
And we're going to take another break here, and we'll be back with another guest.
Perfect.
And we're back. It's the VA show, second Tuesday of the month. My name is Max Efren. I'm the Public Affairs Officer at the Northern Arizona VA Healthcare System. And we were just talking to Michelle Stacy Schroeder from the city of Prescott, and we were talking Veterans Day Parade. But we're going to switch gears here. We're going to talk VA, and I brought in one of our providers. He is named Dr. Jeff Remsburg. He's a chiropractor at Northern Arizona VA, and his office is right here in Prescott at the Bob Stump VA Medical Center. So welcome and thanks for coming on the show, Jeff.
Well, thanks for having me, Max. Glad to be here.
Yeah, and I just want to let everybody know that Jeff was Employee of the Month a few months back. So we got a star, a superstar in the radio. He's an excellent employee over at the VA here, and so we wanted to talk about the services that basically we offer through chiropractic, as well as some of the other alternative treatment options that are offered at the VA here. So let's kind of get right into it. First of all, what types of conditions do VA chiropractors typically treat?
So primarily we're based upon spinal pain, treatment of spinal pain. So neck pain, low back pain, headaches, that kind of things. We can also do, work on knee pain, hip pain, things of that nature as well. But our primary focus in the VA is spinal pain.
Okay, gotcha. And what would, are there other chiropractors who focus on other components, aside from spinal pain? What would be outside of that, just that we don't focus on?
So within the VA, you just mean chiropractors in general?
Just in general, if we're just focused on spinal pain, what if somebody came and they had a different issue that we don't treat? What would an example of that be, maybe?
So if we have knee pain, we could definitely look at that, but we might, recommend physical therapy instead of that, things of that nature. There's some anecdotal evidence for chiropractic to help with non-spinal pain related conditions, but that's more that, it's low quality evidence. So we kind of like to focus on where the evidence is, and that's more spinal pain.
Okay, got it. And so how can veterans access chiropractic care at Navajix? What is the referral process, if there is?
Yep. So if they are enrolled in the VA system, they can ask their primary care, or if they go to the pain team or a PT, they can also place a referral to come see us.
Okay.
And so if they're local to this area, we also have Dr. Brock is out in the Kingman, Seabach. So if they're local to those areas, they can come in and see us in the VA. If they are not, they can get chiropractic care through Care in the Community as well.
Okay, gotcha. And so say if someone, shows up and they're saying, hey, I'm having some issues, and they're talking to their primary care physician, and they say, well, we can probably refer you over to our chiropractic. What would kind of that initial handoff be like, and what would that first appointment kind of look like for someone?
Yep. So usually we can get people in within 2 to 3 weeks for that initial appointment. We're a little backed up, but that first appointment is 1 hour. So basically that first exam or first visit, we do a real thorough history, and basically we try to do a real good medical evaluation to kind of determine where the pain's coming from and why it's lasted for so long, and what are some things we can do to help address that pain.
Okay, got it.
And to make sure that chiropractic is the right treatment and they're not going to get better results somewhere else.
Right. Yeah, because sometimes I think, people don't really understand what the best treatment is,
Right.
and you guys are there to evaluate that. So obviously you said we have one in Kingman, we got here in Prescott, and then what types of treatments does the VA chiropractic program typically offer? I mean, what's the whole gamut that you guys have?
Yeah. So basically we kind of are specialists in spinal care therapy, but more of the conservative nature. So we don't do any medications, we don't do injections, things like that. Our treatment is more conservative treatments such as education, exercise. We also do acupuncture. All three of us in the Northern Arizona VA system are trained in acupuncture. We can do that. And then obviously chiropractic manipulation is kind of what most people associate chiropractors with. So that can be an option for a lot of patients as well, but it's not the only treatment. So we got lots of different tools in our tool bag to kind of help focus on what the patient in front of us needs.
Okay, gotcha. And so, let's talk a little bit about program impact. So what benefits do veterans report from chiropractic care, especially those with chronic pain or injuries related to military service?
Yep. So obviously many people in the military have had far more trauma than, a civilian population. So our goal with treatment is always to improve pain and to improve function. Okay. That's different levels for different people. Some people can get complete pain relief. Some people we knock it down a step or two. Some people might not get any help from us, and we have to try other options or other treatments. But we're more focused on improving somebody's functions so, they can live their daily lives, do their daily tasks, play with their kids or grandkids, things of that nature.
Okay, great. And is there any evidence that chiropractic care helps reduce the use of opioids among veterans managing pain? Because
Yep.
I know that can be a pretty chronic thing.
Yeah, so that's opioid pandemic is kind of a big thing right now. And there's several studies that show chiropractic care does decrease opioid use. Even more recently, there was one that was more specific just to VA patients.
Oh.
And so it looked at only VA patients, and it did find that those that received chiropractic care had it was around a 30% decrease in opioid prescriptions compared to those who don't receive chiropractic care.
Wow, that
Yep.
is significant. Okay.
And there's several of those studies that confirm that in the more of the civilian population as well.
Right, right. Okay, excellent. And I guess one question, and maybe I'm skipping ahead a little bit, but I keep coming back to it in my brain is a lot of folks, when you put them on a plan of some sort, are you expecting that plan is for a certain amount of time, or is it just case by case? Or, some people may think they need chiropractic for the rest of their life to manage, pain, and instead of using opioids or whatever as that treatment method. So what would you say to, time frames?
I think that's one kind of negative aspect that a lot of people see chiropractic care as is if you go once, you have to go for the rest of your life. That's not what we want to preach. We focus more on, hey, we're here for new injuries or for flare-ups or for that initial trial of care. So for most people, we want to try at least 3 to 4 visits, but maybe up to 6 to 8 visits and kind of see where we are. If patients reporting improvement, we'll keep going with that, try different things, add different things to the treatment plan. If they're not getting any improvement, then we might recommend other treatments. And then, once we kind of get them to what we call maximum medical improvement, so, hey, we keep treating them, but at a certain point they stop getting any more improvement. We might kind of take a break from them then and say, hey, let's go off of care for a while, see how we do. If that pain shoots back up, we can have them come back in. But we kind of have them focus on their home exercises, their healthy living, those aspects to kind of keep themselves in that improved condition.
Right, that whole health approach a little
Right.
bit, right. So we're going to take a quick break, and then when we come back, we're going to talk more about chiropractic care at the VA.
Sounds good.
All right, and we're back. This is the VA show with, I brought on Jeff Remsburg. He is a chiropractor at our VA right here in Prescott. We also have 2 other chiropractors. You said one is located in Kingman, is
Yes.
that right?
Dr. Brock and then Dr. DeAngelis is also in Prescott VA with me here, and Bob Stump.
Okay, excellent. So yeah, and we didn't always have such a robust team of chiropractors. I mean, how recently did this program kind of start expanding?
Yeah, so I started here. I was at the VA in Central Iowa before, but I started here last July. I think Dr. DeAngelis had been there a few years before me, and I think Dr. Brock has been there about 2 years now, roughly.
Okay. So yeah, this is part of the effort that we've been bringing to expand our specialty services and make it so that we don't necessarily have to outsource. We're trying to bring in as much in-house as we can. And, our chiropractors are, I would say, some of the best, around. You can trust these guys with your care. And so we just want to, we gave a sense of kind of what it is to when you first go in and get your evaluation of what your needs are and, how many treatments are kind of recommended at first. I guess we want to kind of get into what veterans can take home with them for their personal care and their hygiene for for chiropractic health, and so what can veterans do at home to complement their chiropractic care and improve musculoskeletal health?
Yeah. So the big thing with chronic pain is it's multifactorial. So there's a lot of different things that influence chronic pain. So a lot of people want to think that it's only has to do with what's on their MRI or their X-ray, but chronic pain is very complex. So that means there's a lot of different ways we can address it and a lot of different ways we can improve it. So Dr. James Chestnut is a chiropractor, and he has this saying of eat well, move well, think well, and I like to add the sleep well aspect on that as well. So, eating healthy is key. If we're eating inflammatory foods all day long, our body's going to be inflamed, and that leads to more pain. Our joints in our spine and every other part of our body are made to move. So if we're not moving, those joints aren't happy. That leads to more pain. Mental health is huge, obviously in the VA and otherwise. Some of the biggest predictors for chronic pain is mental health, the presence of anxiety or depression along with spinal pain. That predicts ongoing chronic pain more so than disc herniation or disc bulges or things of that nature. So getting your mental health in order is just as important as anything else regarding pain. And then if we're not sleeping, then our body's not repairing itself. It's not getting cleansed at night, so that's a key aspect as well. So basically every aspect of our well-being is important for for helping chronic pain as well.
Right. And obviously some people, it's really obvious when they have a back injury and they need to, go to you to kind of address that particular injury, that they know exactly when that happened. But then there's other times where it's been accumulation of years and years of, perhaps just bad posture or, habits that they lean to one side all the time or whatever the case. So, what are some of the more common issues that you see and how can people kind of adjust those?
Yeah. So I say the biggest one we see for a lot of people is just lack of exercise, unfortunately. And, obesity. As society, we eat a little bit too much and we don't move enough, and that leads to excess weight gain, which is a lot of stress on our joints. So, if we're not working on improving our weight, if we're not working on improving our exercise routine, then it's a challenge for us. So that's kind of the biggest thing I see. And in general, I say, as human beings, we sit a lot, so just movement in general is good for our joints, whether that's walking, whether that's yoga, whatever is best for you to do, that works for us. No exercise, is better than one for back pain. Just whatever you can do to maintain it is the best idea possible.
Right. Keep moving.
Yep.
And, you mentioned acupuncture. And so I'm curious, when does that conversation come up kind of toward the beginning of treatment, or is that something kind of down the road that you start determining that, just adjustments aren't doing it? Maybe we need to incorporate some other, other options, the collaboration component, not just what you guys offer, but what else you can do with other VA providers to make sure that they're addressing the needs.
Yeah. So as far as acupuncture goes, it kind of depends. It's case by case. Some patients come to me and they're like, hey, I want to try acupuncture. As long as there's no red flags for acupuncture, I'm like, all right, we're happy to start there. Sometimes I like acupuncture a lot when, patients are very sensitive, and if we do any kind of exercise or treatment, it almost kind of flares them up. So it's a good way to kind of calm down the nervous system and get a new baseline, and then we can start incorporating other treatments on top of that. That's kind of the biggest aspect. Although some people have had good success with it in the past and want to try it again, I'm happy to do it with those. And then as far as collaboration goes, yeah, sometimes patients will get referred to us. The provider wants them to try acupuncture. We work a lot with physical therapy, so a lot of times they will handle the exercise treatment of things, and we'll kind of do more of the hands-on aspect. But yeah, there's a lot of tools in our tool bucket between the chiropractors at the VA and just the whole pain team in general and things of that nature.
I heard someone mention specifically, and I don't know if this is you or all of you at the VA, but battlefield acupuncture. Is that something you specifically offer, or is it just?
Nope. So there's a couple of people that do battlefield acupuncture. I'm trained in it. Dr. DeAngelis is trained in it, and we also have one of our pain providers is trained in it, as well as our pain pharmacist.
Wow.
So basically, that was I should have looked. I can't remember the exact person who came up with it, but basically, it's a protocol of acupuncture needles that go in your ear. They're little tiny studs almost, so they sit in your ear for a couple of days usually.
Wow. And
there's 5 points on each ear. Depending on how it works, you might end up with one at the first visit, maybe all 5 in each ear. But it's kind of like I said, it's battlefield acupuncture. It's made for short-term decrease in pain, so you can kind of get back on the battlefield or recover from the battlefield or things of that nature. So it's good kind of entry into acupuncture because it's more just localized on the ear. But yeah, we can expand that into the full body acupuncture, or some people just like doing the battlefield acupuncture and having that done routinely.
Okay, interesting. And is that something unique to VA services, or do you think other providers outside of VA would also have that kind of experience?
No, it is like when I took my acupuncture training, they taught us BFA, battlefield acupuncture. So it's taught kind of as a protocol through all acupuncture programs.
Okay.
But yeah, it's kind of a separate service within the VA, so I think it has kind of more notoriety in the VA than other places.
Okay, interesting. And we were talking about kind of just habits people develop, and one of those is bad posture. And so I saw that we have a sheet here, 7 surprising facts about posture. So maybe just some of the kind of myths in that things you can myth bust a little bit, so what are some concepts you could share with us?
So there's a lot of bad information out there about pain in general, and one of them is definitely about posture. People think that you need to sit upright in perfect posture all the time. Our bodies are made to move and adapt to different postures. Any one position for a long period of time is bad, but we want to adapt a variety of postures over a variety of time. So constantly move, sitting, standing, sitting on one buttock, sitting on the other one, bending one knee, straightening one knee. The most you can do to switch up your posture is probably the best thing you can do. Don't worry about being exact with perfect posture all day long. Just worry about keeping moving as much as possible.
Right. Yeah, it's a balance, right? I remind my wife of this all the time because we have young children, and she'll carry, our baby on one side of her body all the time. I'm like, you got to switch to the other side because you're going to get a crooked spine. It's like you're constantly doing the same thing. And that could apply to all kinds of things. So your occupation, maybe you're a hairdresser or something, you're leaning over one way all the time, or whatever the case may be, just consciously making that decision to do kind of the opposite, right?
Right. And I always tell people, some of the most common exercises I give are the opposite of what they do all day long.
Right.
And those usually are the ones that work.
Yeah, excellent. So we're going to take another break here, and then we'll wrap up with some more information about chiropractic care. All right. Well, welcome back, everybody. This is Max Efron with the Northern Arizona VA. We are talking about VA services, and I have Dr. Remsburg in the room. He is a chiropractor at the Northern Arizona VA right here at our Bob Stump VA Medical Center in Prescott. We've been talking all things chiropractic, covering a lot of subject matter here, but we have a few more information about spinal issues and how to address them. So one that we wanted to touch on is that scans rarely show the cause of back pain. So I'm going to have Dr. Remsburg kind of break that down.
Yeah, so one thing we come across a lot is, patients referring to their x-rays, their MRIs, and they, say, I have back pain because of this degeneration, because of this bulged disc, because of this stenosis, all things which we see on imaging. Obviously, that can be the form or cause of the pain or a contributor to the pain, but there's been numerous studies where they take people that have never had neck pain, they have never had low back pain, and they give them x-rays or MRIs, and guess what? They have pretty much the same stuff as people with back pain. They have disc bulges, they have disc herniations, they have stenosis, and so yet some of those people with those things have pain, some of those people with those things do not have pain. So it's not an end-all be-all. It's part of the issue, it's a part of the reason, the things we can address, but it's not the only thing. And truthfully, we can only truly identify the source of pain from a scan in about 10 to 15% of cases.
Wow.
That's when we see aggressive, those are like bad things. When we see big tumors, when we see giant disc herniations that are pressing on the spinal cord, things of that nature, then we can kind of say, hey, that looks like the source of your pain. But otherwise, degeneration, disc bulges, even disc herniations, those are present in a lot of us without pain. So again, we can look at those things that might be the source of it, but we want to, we can address pain without changing those images.
Right. So it's not as clear cut,
Right.
or I think a lot of us want like concrete answers,
Right.
and it's just like you can't really always give that.
And pain is very complex, so we don't have concrete answers. But the good thing about that is there's a lot of different ways we can address the pain.
Right.
The more complex it is, the more various treatments that often work for people.
Yeah, and another one that we talked about is, basically back pain is not caused by a weak core. So it's not necessarily that you're not doing your due diligence to tighten up your core,
Yeah.
right? It's what are we talking about here?
As long as you exercise regularly, your core's strong enough. Okay, so a lot of people think, I've even had people that can deadlift 500 pounds that think they have a weak core. Like, if you can do that, you don't have a weak core.
Right.
People that brace their stomach all day long, from studies, those are people with pain. People that are relaxed in the core, those are people without pain.
Mm-hmm.
So it's strengthening our core and keeping our core tight and strong does not lead to less pain. Just exercise in general leads to less pain. And there's been big reviews that show, improving your core strength is no different than exercising any kind of exercise, other kind of exercise.
Oh.
So if you like doing core exercises, great. They're not bad at all. They're not a bad thing to do. But hey, if you say, I'd rather do yoga or I'd rather just lift weights in general, fine, do those. Again, whatever you can do more regularly will help you the most.
Yeah, you're probably engaging your core through most of those activities
That's
anyways.
the thing. Yeah,
right?
You don't need to focus on it much. Unless, like I said, if you like it, go ahead, do it.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it too much.
Okay, excellent. And before we kind of wrap up our conversation, I want to just make sure that we reiterate, how do they get connected to chiropractic care? If you are an enrolled veteran, how do you go about that process again?
Yep. So if you have an issue, you just probably the easiest way is talk to your primary care, either at your, you visit, or shoot them a secure message and just say, hey, I want to try chiropractic care for my neck pain, back pain, whatever it is, and that'll start the process.
Okay. And then once they get to you guys, essentially you review their history, you go over, kind of where they're feeling the pain, and you do an assessment. You said it's about 1 hour process?
First visit's 1 hour, follow-ups are about 30 minutes.
Okay. And then how frequently are follow-ups usually?
We try to get them about every 2 weeks.
Okay.
Unfortunately, we are short-staffed at the VA, so it's hard to get people in more frequently than that, but that's usually adequate time to get people in and make changes.
Sounds good. Well, Dr. Remsburg, thank you so much for coming on the show. We really appreciate your time. Before we have one more minute of the show here, I'm just going to say that we have a couple events coming up. We already shared about the VA parade or the Veterans Day parade, but we also have a Veteran Town Hall event tomorrow. It's virtual, and if you're interested, if you're a veteran or just a community member and you want to listen in on some really interesting information, conversations, you want to ask some questions, it's 5 to 6 p.m., And to access the town hall, you can either dial in on a phone at 833-490-0775. That's 833-490-0775. Or you can actually go online. We have a streaming player that you can access and listen in, as well as type in your questions. That is at access.live/Navihix, which is kind of a tough one. But if you go on our website, all that information is on our website under events. You can find it right there. Thank you so much for joining us today.